that regional challenges must be addressed by those who live with their consequences. One area where Ankara and Riyadh are clearly aligned is opposition to U.S. military action against Iran. Saudi foreign minister has said the region is burdened by multiple crises, and finding a diplomatic solution between the United States and Iran is essential for achieving peace and stability. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has gone further, stating that Saudi Arabia will not allow its airspace or territory to be used for any military action against Iran. Those statements mirror Ankara's own opposition to military intervention. It also helps explain how Riyadh now views Turkey as a country with overlapping interests and the capacity to contribute to regional stability as old security assumptions are being reassessed. To understand how this thinking is evolving inside the kingdom, we turn to the Gulf Research Center. Its founder and CEO, Dr. Abdulaziz Sager, shared his perspective on why Saudi-Turkey ties are deepening now and what this moment could mean for the region.
The visit of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan to Saudi Arabia, first it carries a lot of importance. First, this is his first visit in the 2026 outside Turkey, and he started in Saudi Arabia. What we are all happy here in Saudi Arabia and also in the Arab world and the Gulf region in particular, to see a closer collaboration between Saudi Arabia and Turkey. These two countries, their objective is stability, security, peace, de-escalation. They have a lot in common, and they all work very hard to achieve that goal, whether on the north part of Iraq and Syria, whether on the Red Sea security, or in the Horn of Africa, or in Sudan, in Libya. There are many areas where both carry the same value, the same objective of bringing stability and security. So I think the visit came at a very important time when we are witnessing some escalation, of course, between the US and Iran. We are still witnessing, despite of what has been signed and the agreement with the new peace council, and Saudi and Turkey are both members of that council led by the President Trump. Saudi and Turkey both enjoy an excellent relation to the US, which is a key international player, not only in the region, but worldwide. So I think what we have in common together, it brings a much better result on the collaboration between the two countries. And I think we are witnessing the improvement on the economic relation and on the investment side. Today we are almost close to $10 billion on the trade relation. But the beautiful thing, the two leadership, they would like to see it moving toward 30 billion. And I'm sure with a lot of the hard work, with the attraction from both sides, with the strong traditional family and social relation that we have between Turkey and Saudi Arabia, and the business interests from the Turkish company, and the good and excellent performance of the Turkish companies in Saudi Arabia. A lot of those whom they worked in Saudi Arabia did perform very well. They did participate on the construction of Saudi Arabia and the Giga project and on the Mega project. So they do have an excellent credibility. And this is why the door will be open for them to expand in Saudi.
Mm-hmm. I think when many countries look at Saudi Arabia from a foreign policy perspective, obviously the first thing that comes to their mind is the economics, the finance. But I get the feeling that this upgrade between Turkey and Saudi Arabia is a lot more geopolitical, especially when we look at the foreign policy issues in the region. Do you see more of an alignment now between Turkey and Saudi Arabia on foreign policy portfolios? And is that the major driver? Because over the past 20 years, Turkey and Saudi Arabia have tried to move forward, and it was one of those 2 steps forward, 1 step back type. Have we overcome that now? Is it a clear path going forward?
I think it is a clear path now, and I think both are in agreement on the various issues in the region here, including the situation in Gaza, the relation to Egypt and to the Mediterranean, because also Egypt is an important element, and Turkey and Saudi trying also to help and to bring Egypt to the equation. The Red Sea security, because without the Red Sea access through Suez, you will not be able to enter into the Mediterranean. So you need to have that sort of security and stability. Situation in Sudan, when it comes down, it will improve a lot. Situation in Turkey also, and ending the internal conflict. And Turkey still is a significant player in Turkey, and that will help a lot. How both sides look at the nuclear program in Iran, which both are against the militarization of the nuclear program in Riyadh. They think it is the right of Iran to have their peaceful nuclear program for their own domestic, whether it's a power use or a medical use or other civilian use, but not in supportive of the a militarization of a nuclear program. I think also both are in agreement when it comes to the Horn of Africa, and both are against the Somaliland and Israeli recognition of Somaliland, because still that's supposed to be one country and there should be no separation, there an endorsement. Also, Turkey is very concerned about the development in Yemen, and they do understand the Saudi position, and they fully endorse the position of Saudi Arabia when it comes into Yemen after 12 years of conflict on that part of the region. But the beauty is that with the high capability of Saudi Arabia and Turkey, both are working for stability, security, de-escalation, because this is the core issue. If you don't have it, you will not be able to move toward an economic prosperity. You will not be able to increase the things. And I think Saudi also recognized that Turkey has a great capability when it comes to the defense industry, and Saudi objective on the 2030 vision to expand their local military industry up to 50%, and Turkey definitely one of the countries that can help support in technology transfer and know-how, and also in joint investment in Saudi Arabia to achieve that goal for Saudi. And Saudi and Turkey, they do not want to have an offensive defense program. They want to have a defensive one. Basically is to try to bring that stability, to fight terrorism, to fight piracies, to make sure that maritime security is there. And both have the strong role in the maritime security that they can play with that one.
Mm-hmm. Well, since we're speaking about defense, there were a lot of media whispers regarding a trilateral collective defense agreement between Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan. Obviously, Saudi Arabia and Pakistan already have a bilateral agreement, but we've covered this on our show before, and just seeing the feedback from our viewers, seeing other Muslim majority country media cover it, it seems that there's a desire to see this leadership or this security architecture being formed. Does the region want a local security architecture formed by itself? And is this kind of preparation for a post-American Middle East?
I think it is a great desire, because also when you look at the U.S. national security plan, or they put it out, and also the defense strategy they have in the region here, there is a vacuum, and that vacuum needs to be filled. And I think if we have the four countries that working together, trying to bring stability and security in the region, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and Egypt, that will be of a great help. Yes, we understand Turkey is a member of NATO, and it's not easy to sign a defense-backed agreement, but also there could be a lot of defense cooperation agreement, and the defense cooperation agreement would mean helping to build capacity, training, even a lot of Saudi import of some of the naval requirement for the Coast Guard. And so, although it's being bought from a European country, but a lot of it has been manufactured in Turkey, and that's also appreciated. And we understand how well developed, and it's only when you go to the defense show here in Riyadh, you can see the strong Turkey presence there with all the advanced industrial technology that they have adopted. And Saudi also is welcoming. I mean, the largest deal has been signed on the drone was between Saudi Arabia and Turkey last year. And now Saudi is considering to look at seriously to the proposal of the new Turkey jet fighter, and how can they participate in something like this. I think because we realize we both have a common interest all the way from the South Mediterranean to the Horn of Africa, and also to participate in international security. And both countries are members of the G20, so both countries do have a common economic interest also.
I want to ask about Iran because, I mean, for Turkey and for Saudi Arabia, the relationship with Iran ranges from at times being competitors to at times being adversaries, but a country that neither would call an ally. But at the same time, neither wants to see Iran descend into any type of destabilization, a lot of concerns. What does Saudi Arabia want to see regarding Iran going forward? And how can it work with Turkey to get the result that it wants?
You know, neither Saudi or Turkey will be involved or can support or agreed in any sort of regime change in Iran, because we all believe this is the right of the Iranian people to decide what sort of regime they have. The big difference today in the current escalation and the negotiation between the US and the Iranian, in the past it was all about the nuclear program. Currently, there's a lot of talk about regime change, where Turkey and Saudi are not in support of that, because they do believe we need to have a strong central government in Iran. Otherwise, Iran is a neighborhood, is about 13 or 14 countries. It depends, 6 of them in the Gulf countries, we share the water with them. So if there is any escalation in Iran, or if there is a weak central government in Iran, that will have a negative impact, whether it's in Turkey or in the Gulf countries, including Saudi Arabia. But at the same time, we wish to see a change in the attitude in the Iranian side on the various issues, on the issue of maritime security, on the issue of energy security, using sectarianism as a dimension for any expansionism in the region, and also on the nuclear program, that we will never support or endorse any new militarization of that nuclear program. We understand it's Iran's right to develop its own defense industry. But the minute you use nuclear as a deterrent and you move it from a peaceful use to a deterrent weapon system, that will create a lot of complicity in the region, and that will justify for an intervention on the Iranian domestic issue. Otherwise, Iran is a big country. It has a lot of natural resources. It can be economically and prosperity of the people can be excellent. We share, Turkey and Saudi share a lot of relation to the Iranian people, and we like them, and you know, we are neighbors, and we have all this old historical link, you know, to Iran. So we wish to see a better handling issues, and also Turkey and Saudi will only give Iran the honest advice that they need, because we both have a similar interest. We both want to have stability. We both want to have de-escalation. We do not wish to see another war in the region here. So I think if they listen to this, to our friend in Turkey and in Saudi, to enhance the security and the stability in the region, that's what we are all waiting for and looking for.
I want to ask you about Israel as well. I mean, the past 2 years, obviously the massacres in Gaza, but aside from that, Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, Iran, Yemen, I mean, basically everyone in the neighborhood has been on the receiving end of Israeli strikes. What can Turkey and Saudi Arabia do together to normalize Israeli behavior? I mean, I'm beyond normalizing relations, even just something as simple as normalizing behavior, maybe reining it in. I don't know what you want to call it, having it at least pull back its aggressive posture and have some type of normal diplomatic relations, or having some type of normal functioning like a normal country with its neighbors.
I don't think in Saudi Arabia and in Turkey we antagonize the right of the Israeli for existence and coexistent with the Palestinian. But if the Israeli still do not wish to recognize the Palestinian right of existence and state, whatever form of a state that can be agreed between both sides, I think that's what the Saudi and the Turkey would like to see. Because if we have an agreement on a Palestinian state, if we go back historically to November 1947, the UN Resolution 181, it talks about two But basically, before that, it talks about two. It talks about a two-state solution where 57% is the Jewish and 45% is the Arab, and then the rest the percentage is for the holy area and the international side. And Israel was formulated on the basis of self-determination. Why they antagonize and they don't agree to the right of the Palestinian for self-determination of having their own state. And Israel cannot live in a league of hatred with the neighborhood. They cannot live with the escalation in the Lebanese side of a border, neither on the Syrian. And every time, we understand the Israeli interest that they do not wish to see the supply line of weapon to the Hamas or to Hezbollah in Lebanon or so. But at the same time, that does not justify them expanding their territorial from 74 that has been agreed, that agreement, and expand their territorial occupation or even attacking a certain area or launching any sort of taking over of additional occupied territory. That is totally unjustifiable. We understand that the Israeli want to live in peace, and we want to live in peace. They have the right of the existence, and everybody have the right of existence. Self-determination, they based their country in 1948 in that one. So why they are not, becoming more realistic in that one? And I think Saudi and Turkey, because after the 7th of October, they moved around the world, and they really created the biggest global lobbying in bringing the Palestinian issue and Palestinian right to the rest of the world. They started from China all the way to Russia, to South America, to the US, to the European side. And as a result of that, we have seen the September 2025 meetings in New York and the announcement on the 22nd that took place in New York for the recognizing the Palestinian state and also pushing for the right of the Palestinians. So no matter what big support they have from the US, they still cannot be in the region and live in the region in a league of hatred. They have to resolve it. They have to accept the right of the other, and with this way they can have a better relation and they can prosper better, because nobody is interested to kill them or to wipe them out of the map and so on. So no, this is all a nonsense statement. They have the right of existence. So, and I think Turkey and Saudi can try to play a double advocate. In one hand, stopping the Israeli expansionist policy that they have been adopting, and second, creating the global lobbying or the global recognition of the Palestinian right of the coexistence.
Multi-pronged approach is very important. If we have the same conversation 10 years later, together, sitting here, what will be different about Saudi Arabia's position, the Turkey-Saudi Arabia relationship, and also the region?
Well, I think Saudi Arabia did put a long-term vision, 2030, which a lot of it is under process and achieving. I think Turkey have participated in the Vision 2030 in Saudi Arabia, whether on the construction, on the industry, on the military side. So there's a good Turkish participation. By the way, we have more than 700,000 Turkish, performing Umrah every year, coming to Saudi, to Mecca. And also we have an outstanding sort of tourism relation between both sides. But I think down the road, 10 years, I can see a stronger relation. I can see more vital interest between both sides. And I can see the common vision on trying to provide security and stability in the region has been enhanced and has been implemented.
Dr. Abdulaziz Sager, thank you for taking your time out to speak to us. You've been watching a special edition of Straight Talk from Riyadh, where we've been covering the Turkey-Saudi Arabia bilateral relationship and how it's been getting stronger. Thank you for watching.